Good morning, good morning, good morning, guys. This is Pinky, the housewife. I do have a new video for you. Um, let before we get with the video, let me just have you all to do one thing for me. Can you go ahead and hit that like button for me? That keeps me in the algorithm, and then also subscribe to the channel because we're trying to grow the channel, guys, and I need everyone's help in doing that. In order to grow Pink Global, I need everyone to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And once you do that, I'm going to go ahead and thank you now so I won't have to thank you later. So thank you for doing that. And let's go ahead and get started with the matter at hand. Now, what we're going to be watching today, this is a full on chase, okay? LAPD chase of a SA pursuit in Los Angeles, okay? This is one of the most dangerous chase I've seen, okay? Because we're not dealing with a straight person in the head. So when I say dangerous, make sure you watch it to the end. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the video for you, all right? And let me just get it cast out to you guys. And just make sure you watch it to the end because it's going to turn out to be the strangest video. I don't know. I don't understand some of these people. Okay, but here it goes. All right, so sit back, get you something to drink, something to eat this morning, get your coffee ready, and let's get started. All right.
And he will start to approach
Let me just
the
make
Fox
sure.
Hills area here pretty shortly. And he will start to approach the Fox Hills area here pretty shortly in the area of Culver City. We'll see if he shows.
Okay, let me just say it's already started the chase. So we're coming in midway on the chase, but make sure you watch it to the end, guys. All right, here we go.
Again, any signs of getting off the freeway. Of course, he's got the option of taking the 405 all the way up into West LA, but you can see he's kind of hugging that right lane, which kind of tells me that he may look for an exit opportunity again. Not sure how familiar he is with the area or, again, what his background is here, how familiar he is with LA in general. Again, this is a possible warrant out of the East Coast. So hard to say what we're dealing with here, but he, again, is driving relatively tame northbound 405. A sexual assault suspect, I'm being told by our assignment desk.
Wow. Well, of course.
Being told by LAPD, a sexual assault suspect inside the car here.
Well, now you can see why authorities are really trying to get this person to pull over. But again, as you're talking about it, they may have a warrant also for, is it sexual assault out of Boston, or those could possibly be unrelated as of right now? Chris, we're still probably trying to find the details.
Don't know, but the initial reports were that there were a series of crimes. So there may be more than one crime associated here. Unclear whether that assault happened in Boston or if there's a separate crime that we're talking about out here on the West Coast. Don't even know if it's his vehicle. Right now, it's just kind of a lot of unknowns that we're working with. LAPD seems to have more intel, though, so they have more information than we do. We'll see if we can try and gather some more of that, but obviously a little more to this story here as we get a little bit closer, and as he gets closer to us, he has now fully passed LAX, the LAX area, and is continuing now northbound and towards Westchester.
It's so interesting that he's actually driving under the speed limit, which nobody does, that seems, in LA. You know, it's hard to believe that. And then you have the 6 PD behind him. You can see in his front window a little bit, but it's hard to tell what we're looking at. There's just obviously one suspect right now, it looks like, unless there's someone in the back.
Pretty tinted, so it's hard to see in the back seat, but that front passenger seat is empty. It's a Lincoln Aviator as he starts to exit the freeway here. What transition is that, Johnny? I think he just got onto the, is this going to be the 90 maybe? I'm not sure.
Right.
He's getting off the 405 at Howard Hughes. So he is getting off in Fox Hills here. You can see the full pursuit package making their way off the freeway with him. Again, they were, this all started, I believe, in county territory. That's unconfirmed. Wilmington, I'm being told. It started in Wilmington. LAPD picking it up in their Harbor Division. These are Southwest units that have chased them all the way up the 405 freeway here, and you can see them now on surface streets here at Howard Hughes Parkway in Westchester, where if he continues in this direction, there will be a little bit of cloud cover here, but it looks like he is getting back on the freeway possibly.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, we're all really familiar with these areas, and it is pretty amazing that the streets are empty at around 4:15 in the afternoon. It is really remarkable. And if he gets back on the 405, he's going to see that LA traffic that we all kind of know so well. And maybe this person, if they are from Boston, they may not know this area very well, Chris, and they are trying to head back to the original spot where they started this pursuit, because LA is tricky.
It is. It certainly is. And it looks like he may live to regret this move, because he's now gone onto the southbound side of the freeway. So he was traveling northbound 405, quickly got off, and has re-entered the freeway on the southbound side, where there happens to be a little bit heavier traffic, as you can see here. It's not exactly a traffic jam, but you can see heavier volume, a little bit slower speeds here. Again, a maroon colored Lincoln Aviator now traveling southbound on the 405 freeway. We'll see what LAPD decides to do here, but right now they have limited options. The pursuit, pit maneuver rather, not an option with this many cars on the road, and then of course setting up for a spike strip is going to be relatively impossible on the freeway here with traffic. So we'll see if they decide to continue this or hand it off to California Highway Patrol. It would not surprise me, considering he is choosing to stay on the freeway. But right now, LAPD maintaining control of this pursuit, and their helicopter is overhead as well. So they have a lot of resources dedicated to this pursuit, and now they are continuing to cruise right along with him at about 60 miles per hour still.
We see if he picks up speed. It'll be very interesting. You know, when he was going northbound, it certainly had a opportunity perhaps for a pit maneuver. But now that the traffic situation has gotten a little bit more heavy there, that's out of the question.
Yeah, and even here, he's got a few lanes to play with here, but he's not going exceptionally fast. He's basically choosing to stay in that right lane, hugging the right lane. We'll see if he sets up for another exit or if he just takes it back down the 405. Anybody's guess, obviously, but you just kind of wonder what more there is to this story. And again, from what we could tell, there's nobody in the front passenger seat. A little bit early to say whether there's anybody in the back seat here, but it looks like he is indeed getting off the freeway once again. This time I think it's going to be Florence or Manchester Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see where this person goes, because again, we're not quite sure if this person knows where they are located, let alone knowing the directions to get back to wherever they wanted to start from. But again, this is a relatively calm pursuit, Chris, as you just said, but once you get on surface streets, it sort of takes it up another notch of nervousness for at least area drivers and law enforcement.
Yeah, they always prefer to keep it on the freeway if at all possible, but with this kind of driving, it's really anybody's game here, and quite frankly, time is on the side of law enforcement. He has a finite amount of fuel in that tank, and we have no idea how full it is, but again, LAPD has unlimited resources to keep up with him and follow him. If it really is basically just a following, it's not a following, it's a pursuit, but they're basically following him at these relatively slow speeds. They could do this all day long until the vehicle runs out of gas, and you can see them certainly slowing down with him here at this intersection. It's going to be Glasgow Avenue at Manchester Boulevard. He's going through Manchester and continuing south here. So they're going to continue right along with him, going much slower now as he makes his way into more of an industrial area here near the airport. Yeah,
which is also, probably more pedestrians involved. But we've never really seen a pursuit that goes this slowly.
They're very cautious. The driver's very cautious and making sure they're minding the rules of the road, except for the one key thing that they're not pulling over. But again, we believe this suspect is wanted for a series of crimes, including a sexual assault. So, of course, law enforcement want to get him into custody. And this might be that time, Chris, where they start to sort of get an idea of where this person is going to go, so they could possibly put a spike strip down or use some other means to get this driver to pull over.
Yeah, the options are going to open up here, especially as he's in a more kind of emptier street. if they do give the go-ahead for a pit maneuver, that could be an option. Right now, they're kind of cruising. I mean, look at how
Yeah, it
to
looks
your
like he's
point,
stopping.
he's stopping at the stop sign, stopping at red lights, really obeying most of the traffic laws here. Just a failure to yield as far as we've been able to see. But obviously, as I mentioned, a lot more to this story. Unclear whether they, whether he caught their attention while committing another crime, or if maybe they just ran the plates and it came back with a warrant, again, supposedly out of Boston. So they're continuing here southbound on Glasgow Avenue. They've got this empty commercial area street to themselves. If they want to execute a pit maneuver, now wouldn't be a terrible time, or they could just go along with him here. Right now, it's anybody's guess, but he is continuing at a relatively slow speed here.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what is he thinking? Maybe he's thinking of giving himself up. And because you see him braking quite a bit, at the stop signs and then continuing on, but, going, I don't know, 30 miles an hour there maybe?
Yeah, there's always the possibility that they may be efforting to contact the driver, whether they've been able to maybe track down relatives and they were able to actually negotiate with him or get a dispatcher on the line with him or a negotiator. That sometimes is the case. Purely speculation on my part. No information that we have yet that they have managed to actually contact him. But it is a possibility, would not be uncommon or surprising if they choose to go that route and decide that this is a person that they can negotiate with. Otherwise, again, we always have the option of setting up for a spike strip or a pit maneuver. Of course, for that spike strip, he'd have to establish a little bit more of a pattern, but they certainly have plenty of resources at their disposal here. Now he's on La Cienega Boulevard, which is going to be a larger street, a busier street, but right now it does appear relatively empty in this area as he crosses Century Boulevard.
Yeah, I always find it interesting, Chris, you touched on it a moment ago, what tipped these police officers to try to start this pursuit. But sometimes the most routine traffic stop violation leads to something far more serious. And so that might have been the situation where they thought, this person's driving like they don't know where they're going, if they are in fact from Boston. And then they see that he has, wanted from other jurisdictions. So it is obviously concerning because police never know who they're going to encounter when the person actually does pull over. But right now they are stopped. And it's very interesting to see what is going to, this is that cat and mouse game that these pursuit suspects have with law enforcement.
That's exactly right. And to your point, Colleen, we now have word that they are operating under the suspicion that that suspect is possibly armed inside of the vehicle. And that obviously does change the calculus quite a bit going forward in this pursuit here. So information starting to trickle in here, possibly armed suspect behind the wheel of this vehicle, a sexual assault suspect. We believe that they are behind here on La Cienega Boulevard at 104th Street in Westchester, getting closer to LAX as he continues down La Cienega. Unfortunately, we on the for the time being are stuck on the north side of LAX as we try and navigate airspace here. We're talking to air traffic control, trying to see if we can get across the runway to meet up with the suspect on the other side. If he continues southbound on La Cienega Boulevard, paralleling the 405 freeway there you see on the right side of your screen, we'll look for any signs of him maybe attempting to re-enter the freeway. He just passed a freeway entrance, but it's certainly not the last opportunity he'll have. He's going to continue southbound on La Cienega. You can see him underneath the air traffic here coming into the airport, and he is continuing southbound. We'll see if he stays on La Cienega.
Yeah, that LAX airspace always poses a problem. We've been seeing so many pursuits lately that have been erratic and crazy and nerve-wracking to watch. And this is a relatively boring one, and we're grateful for it, because it puts less people at risk and less pedestrians at risk. And you just wonder, what is he thinking? Like, what is he going to do? And just continue this cat-mouse game, like you said, Colleen.
Yeah, on one hand, it seems like a controlled situation, but on the other hand, the unpredictability is through the roof, especially as we start to learn more about the suspect. So, we know all too often here in LA, these pursuits can go from 0 to 60 real quick, and then they can, go sideways in a heartbeat. So, anybody's guess as to how this is going to end. LAPD operating with extreme caution here, especially with the knowledge that he may have a weapon inside that vehicle, and who knows what else or who else inside the vehicle. We don't know, except for the fact that that passenger seat in the front appears to be empty. He's continuing, though, at a pretty reasonable clip here, only about 20 to 25 miles per hour down La Cienega Boulevard. Now getting in the turn lanes, and we'll see here if this gives him the opportunity to get on the freeway. His next freeway entrance is going to be about a half mile off the nose, so he appears to be indicating that he's going to make a left turn here. We'll see if he intends to, if he does follow through with that left turn. That'll put him, I believe, onto Imperial Highway.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is interesting because as law enforcement try to establish this pattern and see if they can pull him over, you know, we Ellen and Chris, we've seen it before where we see law enforcement either try a spike strip or they try to do a pit maneuver, and then it really ups the level of a chase. It becomes much more dangerous, and the driver becomes much more erratic. So there's clearly a huge law enforcement presence behind the suspect. That suspect knows that they are wanted. They should be pulling over. They do not want to give up just yet. But again, it makes you think, they are driving really cautiously, but clearly they're not intimidated by all of these law enforcement vehicles behind them.
And even
Colleen,
using turn signals.
Yeah. It's such a great point. It's such a great point because if he's not posing an immediate danger to the public, why antagonize him? Why up the ante anymore if they have the luxury of following him at a safe speed, at a safe distance, and he's not really, doing anything too extreme?
You know what, guys? I agree with that. If this suspect is not posing any danger right now, and he's driving at a low speed and trying to do the best of not running stop signs and things, because stoplights that keeps all the public safe, and so just follow him until maybe he gives up or run out of gas, or maybe until he get jammed where he can't move anymore more due to traffic or something, where they can apprehend this suspect. And this suspect, if anyone just coming in, is a RP. This is an RP case, and he's wanted. SA case, and the suspect is wanted. And make sure you all watch this chase to the end, because it's surprisingly at the end. So make sure you watch it to the end. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on for you.
Extreme yet. You reserve those other tactics for if things get a little more crazy. Right now, he certainly appears to be, showing some signs of composure behind the wheel here, as he possibly is getting back onto the 405 once again. This is the 105-405 interchange. He's underneath the spaghetti loop there, and I think this may put him on the northbound side. Northbound side of the 405 freeway, and that will require us to now navigate LAX airspace in the opposite direction. Yeah, we're going to have to head back north as they continue this cat and mouse game with this suspect, who is now starting to show signs of indecision, if you will. Where do I go? Which direction do I want to go? How far do I want to take this?
You don't usually see a pursuit suspect using turn signals. Like, let me tell you where I'm going next. You want to elude the authorities, and you're going to do your turn signals to let them know where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always the possibility, as my photographer, Rob Gluckman, reminds me, if he's more experienced than we're giving him credit for, a great way to lose law enforcement would be to zigzag up and down LAX airspace, where it's much more difficult for the helicopters to follow, and there's a lot more opportunity to sneak away here. But at these speeds, he seems to be, not really spooked by law enforcement, and he is once again getting off of the freeway here in the heart of LAX's Bravo airspace here. So we're in Inglewood at 101st Street, getting off the 405 freeway, coming up to a red light here, and you're going to see us shooting this from a distance once again until we get a better idea of where he's taking us. But right now, LAPD not having any problems keeping up with them. In fact, they've even added an additional black and white to the pursuit package here. So if I'm not mistaken, there's 6 here, and I think there is a 7th a few a few vehicles back.
Okay.
Well, they certainly are taking this suspect very seriously. And, the LAPD, the CHP, they're so well versed in pursuits. They do it, it seems like we're on a pursuit almost every day. How they handle each one, we know that it's different. And then they debrief how they handled it, what went wrong, what went right, how to do the next one, because they know they're going to have to rely on their skills of these police pursuits. But again, how they're going to pull this person over, even adding additional units, it seems that this person is going to run out of gas before they give up.
Well, now he's traveling westbound on Century. And as you guys know, I believe that's Century. Yeah, it is Century Boulevard. That will eventually, if he doesn't make a turn here, he's going to end up at the airport in LAX. So unless he's catching a flight to Boston, which is highly unlikely, he may take this onto LAX property here in short order. Again, he's only got a couple of more intersections to turn off of. This is kind of Hotel Row right by the airport here as he cruises at a slow speed along Century Boulevard. We'll see if he comes out the other side of this high rise here.
Obviously is not from LA, because everyone avoids that horseshoe LAX if you possibly can. It's crazy and congested in that area.
And it looks like he's pulled into a parking lot. LAPD following him through the parking lot, and he is now coming back onto Century Boulevard. So he is starting to, it really makes you wonder here just how much more patience he's got left until he just decides to give this up. You don't get the impression he's trying to get away. If he was trying to get away, he could easily, speed away and try and lose the cops. We haven't seen anything like that. He just seems to be going on a joyride here until he comes to a final stop. And they're basically giving him something of a wide berth to do that. Plenty of opportunity to just give up and surrender peacefully without, amping this up any more than it already is. It's already a very serious situation with the knowledge that there's possibly a weapon inside that vehicle. Again, they are going to treat this with kid glove care. He has indeed turned off of Century. He's now northbound on 94th. Northbound 94th. Actually, that might be Isis Avenue there. But no, it's 94th Street. Northbound 94th Street, coming up on Hillcrest Boulevard, as you can see on Sky Map there. So northbound, okay. There may be an attempt to spin him out here. We'll see what he does, but there may be a pit maneuver coming in the near future. At these speeds, on an empty road like this, it's a possibility, but they're going to have to act fast before he ends up on another major avenue, right? He's got Hillcrest right there. There's lots of cross traffic. They're going to have to wait till they get through this intersection if they decide to
Look at that
move ahead with that.
Guy's like, I'm out of here.
It's at least under consideration, I think, at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, the LAPD, they have learned in the past, because they're trying not to put any other innocent lives in danger, because so many times these suspects really do put other lives in danger. You could see the fog kind of rolling in
the marine layer.
coast. Yeah, the marine layer from the beach right there. But again, we'll see what happens right here, because I'm not a law enforcement, but I was thinking that maybe that little intersection might have been a decent one for them to nudge him into a pit maneuver, one of those really soft, graceful, slow ones. But I guess it wasn't going to happen.
No, I mean, it was, they really like to have, nobody in the way. And I think this is just a little bit too busy of an area to follow through with that. But at least they've given the units on the ground the ability and the permission to go ahead with a pit maneuver if they see an opportunity. So as we get further north here, coming up on Aviation Boulevard, he's on Aviation Boulevard. As he goes further up Aviation, if they see an opportunity where he's traveling slow enough, which he certainly is, and there's no other innocent motorist in the way, maybe they will go ahead and do it. Or, as we mentioned before, they may just decide to say, you know what, let's just keep this at a slow, peaceful pace and let him make the decision on his own. Again, at these speeds, especially in a commercial area like this, they have the luxury of letting him exhaust more fuel, kind of run down his patience and his adrenaline, and maybe he'll think better of this.
Yeah, and at least he's not putting pedestrians and other vehicles in peril, because we've seen that before where, they just blow through stop signs or red lights and they scrape cars. So this is at least mild that way, not putting other people in danger so far.
Yeah, for all of the inherent dangers that come along with every police pursuit, we haven't seen any real major situation yet that's really put the public in a dire situation. And that, again, that gives the law enforcement officers a lot more time and a lot more space to make calculated decisions and just kind of work at his pace, almost like a standoff. Like it's like a moving standoff, right?
Yeah.
Where they want to wait for his next move before they attempt their next tactic to bring this to an end. Again, it could change really quickly if he decides to speed up or start running red lights. But until that time, it's going to be more of the same here. And we have seen situations in the past where a slow speed pursuit like this could literally go on for hours. I think that SUV has at least a 20-liter tank. And, if he had a full tank, it could certainly go on for hours at this pace if they allowed it.
Yeah, it's just so interesting to see the person driving so respectfully, slowly, cautiously in this area when you know that they are wanted for something that is quite the opposite. To know that this person may be armed, may be a suspect. You can see it right there that this did start before 4 o'clock. We do know that the LAPD is treating this person as a wanted sexual assault suspect and that this person might be armed. But again, the way that this driver is navigating this pursuit, you can see being very cautious through intersections. We've seen so many pursuits where they are not cautious at all, and it's just, nail biting to watch. But this one, you can see that, and law enforcement are giving them a wide area for them to try to stay calm and try to keep the public at least safe. Because when they do these, these surface streets, we know that there are more people, there are more pedestrians, there's families, kids walking around. So again, this doesn't seem very residential area-esque, but it still has enough foot traffic.
Yeah, well, now he's back on Manchester Boulevard, which is going to be more of a commercial street here. There are already, you can see, more pedestrians. And the problem with a pursuit that extends and just kind of meanders like this, the more opportunity you have for people to catch wind of it and try and catch a glimpse of it. So now everybody in the neighborhood is going to get the notification on their phone and decide to, try and catch a glimpse or even get video of the pursuit as it comes through their neighborhood here or through their business district. But he's now made another turn onto La Cienega. We've been here before, so he is revisiting some of the same area, and he had the opportunity to make a left onto the freeway there. Interestingly, he could have gone left. He could have gone left and got onto the southbound 405. He turned the other way and is now going the opposite direction, away from the freeway, westbound, away from La Cienega, now just kind of making random turns in the Westchester area. Again, we're just to the north of LAX, and if he continues south on Glasgow here, that will take him right back to Century Boulevard, where he was just a few minutes ago. So he is starting to retrace some of his steps, and if that continues, then of course you do have the possibility of setting up for a spike strip if they can get somebody to the right place and the right time. Now he's pulling in to a CarMax dealership, a private property here with a big parking lot. He's moving through the area, just cutting through, it looks like, behind a Home Depot, coming onto a transition road that will give him, I think, again, it'll give him access to the freeway if he makes a right turn. If he makes a left turn, he may also be able to get on the freeway, but I'm not sure about that. We'll see what he does. He's making a right turn. Right turn onto La Cienega. There's an exit to or entrance to the north and an entrance to his south. They're all making that right northbound turn on La Cienega with him. And you notice that undercover vehicle that has joined the pursuit as well in the last several minutes. That I noticed that black SUV has stuck with this pursuit. He's kind of tailing the rest of this pursuit, interestingly enough. So just kind of pointing that out as they continue with a large pursuit package. This is all LAPD units that are continuing at a safe distance here, safe speeds. Again, right at the corner of La Cienega and Hillcrest Boulevard in front of the Home Depot next to the 405 freeway.
Yeah.
Looks like he's stopping, Chris, or is he just minding the red light?
He's at a red light. He's at a red
Okay, I
light.
forgot he's the polite
he is letting
suspect.
it breathe. Yeah, he's obeying the traffic signal, and you see them in position. If he decides to surrender here, he's come to a complete stop, and they're ready to execute the felony arrest. If he does open the door, show signs of surrendering, but again, so far, no signs of that, despite the fact that he's stopping for red lights and stop signs. He's not pulling over. He's not opening the door. He's not even showing signs of communicating with these officers yet. Sometimes we look for that, and we see that change over the course of the pursuit. Maybe a hand gesture out the window, or maybe even stopping to talk to other pedestrians or other motorists, especially if he starts to run low on fuel. Again, right now, this has been, not the most dynamic pursuit. He has been slow and steady this entire time, and I don't know, by my estimation, it's been at least a half hour that we've been over it. So this pursuit going on for probably close to 45 minutes. That's a round number on my part. You guys might have a better estimation, but I think it's been about 45 minutes since we first caught wind of this pursuit. Again, northbound La Cienega Boulevard. If you're just joining us on ABC7, you're taking a live look at an LAPD pursuit in progress. They are in hot pursuit of that SUV. They are stopped at the intersection of La Cienega and Arbor Vitae Street. You can see LAPD units stopping with him at each and every stop sign. It's a slow speed pursuit. The driver behind the wheel wanted for sexual assault on an out-of-state warrant, possibly Boston. And you can see the driving, as far as we could tell from the entire time that we have had eyes on this pursuit, has been relatively composed. Not exceptionally high speeds by any means. Even on the freeway, guys, he was only doing at a peak of 60 miles per hour at the fastest they've clocked him. And on these surface streets, he's actually going, I think, below the speed limit.
Yeah, I don't think he's
This
gone past the speed limit once. Oh,
Spike strip ready. Spike strip ready. He went around the spike strip and ventured into oncoming lanes of traffic to get around that spike.
And then it
so
looks like
I'm told that there was
up.
a spike strip there. They were anticipating it. There's another unit who's waiting for him. Now they have some opportunity here to set up for these spike attempts ahead of the suspect. They're going to try again here. We'll see what happens, but it looks like the road is opened up here for him. It's an empty Isis Avenue as he continues westbound through Inglewood.
Yeah.
And we'll see if this escalates his driving.
That's the problem. Like we talked about, once you start to, once law enforcement shows signs, now he's pulling into a gas station. Look at this. Pulling into a gas station, doing the loop-de-loop. Obviously was never going to have a chance to get gas, but is he using this to make the U-turn, or is he starting to run low on gas? What is the mental situation behind the wheel here? That's what you're wondering now, because with that spike attempt, you could already see things are getting a little bit more aggressive, a little hairier for law enforcement here. You see them kind of all making that U-turn with him and then continuing in the original direction he was going in. So it's really a game of cat and mouse. You get the impression he's not really familiar with the area, and he's making a lot of random moves here. We'll see how this plays out, guys.
It'll be nice if he actually is low on gas, and that's the reason he was going in there, but we can only hope.
No. Also, Chris, moments ago, before just a few moments ago, you zoomed in on the inside the.
Here comes the pit. Here comes the pit behind that building,
Oh.
and he's speeding up. Look at that.
Wow.
He's speeding up. He saw him race up right behind his right fender, and sure enough, he sped up to evade the pit maneuver. I'm sorry to step on you, Ellen.
No,
Things sped up really quickly there, and you saw that primary unit got the go-ahead to do the pit maneuver. They had a perfect opportunity there, and sure enough, just like he went into oncoming lanes of traffic to get around the spike strip, he sped up to evade that pit maneuver. And now, this is the problem. This is exactly what we've been discussing over the last several minutes. If you start to get aggressive with him, he now is showing willingness to drive more aggressively to evade those officers. And now, things are inherently amped up to a slightly more dangerous level, you'd say.
They certainly are.
Have.
But I'm curious though. You know, moments ago we were talking about it. If that suspect, we talked about the suspect possibly being armed, and when you zoomed in, boy, it looks like this police officer is going to try the pit maneuver again. ooh, it gets right up behind them. If that person did have a weapon inside their hand, that was what I was trying to figure out.
Right. So now that they have that knowledge, they have the suspicion that there may be a weapon in the vehicle there. They're going to treat it very carefully, but they feel comfortable in the situation that they have enough units in place where they can, spin the vehicle out and make the felony arrest. They have units ready. Again, each of these cruisers have 2 officers in them. They will immediately point their guns to that driver if he pulls anything scary or threatens those officers in any way. But the hope is that once the vehicle is immobilized, he will hopefully surrender. And they're giving him the benefit of the doubt. They don't want this to continue too long, because the longer it goes, the higher the risk. Because eventually the behavior behind the wheel here, we've already seen it changing slightly. And of course, if you agitate the driver too much, you start to increase the risk for all of these innocent motorists who are just trying to get home on a Thursday afternoon.
Right.
So he's continuing now on Westchester Parkway, approaching Sepulveda. And again, we're just a couple of blocks from LAX Airport.
Did that driver ever end up hitting either one of those spike strips? I know we were looking at it closely, but I just keep looking at that front passenger side wheel, and it looks slightly lower, but maybe just the rims are really big.
Yeah, I don't think so, but it was behind that building, so that's just my guess is that he was able to skirt around it. But once we get a little bit of a better look, a closer look, we might see if that tire is behaving any differently. Right now, he seems to be driving, again, relatively normal as he, continues now northbound on Sepulveda Boulevard. So now northbound Sepulveda, away from LAX. That's a good thing. He's coming towards us. We're going to get a better look as he gets closer to us, and you can see it looks like the vehicle is driving nominally here. So here comes another pit attempt up the right side, and
wow.
a little bit of a
Oh boy.
a little bit of a I don't know, almost a weak attempt there. He didn't really speed up there. He just kind of
The slight miss.
It's almost like he's got this car in cruise control, but I don't know if that officer had second thoughts. He got really close to him.
He did,
May
yeah.
have even kissed the back bumper. I'm not sure. It's difficult to tell from this angle, but he certainly slowed down at the last second there. And it looks like the driver is drinking a bottle of water as he continues this joyride. So northbound Sepulveda, continuing the chase, and he's certainly obviously well aware of those officers in the rear view as he's able to, evade these pit maneuvers and drive around these spike strips. Something tells me he's just going to take this to the very end as long as he's got gas in the tank.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all a little more anxious than the driver with driving with all
Here
these
comes
law
another
enforcement
attempt,
behind you. Come on, let's see. I tell you, every time the police officer gets very close, he does speed up.
Yeah, well, it's you have to feel for these officers, because in a situation like this, he could have a wide open berth on Sepulveda Boulevard 1 second, and then, on a dime, things could change. There could be cross traffic. There could be other traffic in the opposite direction. Here you see there's just not enough space for a pit maneuver. Way too many drivers on Sepulveda Boulevard. The opportune time would have been a little bit early on some of those surface streets where there was virtually no traffic. Now it's a little bit more of a precarious situation. I was a little surprised, actually, to see that attempt on Sepulveda, to be quite honest with you, but that may be why the officer slowed down at the last second there. He might have seen something that posed a danger there. So they don't want to spin him out unless they have, almost a full 4 lanes to play with. You don't want him crashing into parked cars and private property. You don't want to see him get into, a more dangerous situation with oncoming traffic. So it's got to be an area, a stretch of roadway where there's really nobody at risk. And that's what they're looking for. The speeds are not a problem. At these speeds, he is traveling at perfect pit maneuver threshold, but it's the congestion in the area that's preventing the next pit maneuver. But once they see that especially now that you've seen those first 2 attempts, we've now seen 2 attempts that we could say for sure to pit this guy. And if they see another opportunity, I think that 3rd pit is almost inevitable.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see it's amazing to see how light the traffic is right now as we approach the 5 o'clock hour. But again, this driver is definitely just going to kind of stay the course, keep going in directions that it seems like.
Yeah, I think so too, guys. It's coming up on time for, well, people should have already been getting off work. And I think what's going to happen is traffic is going to really pick up. And that's where he's going to get boxed in somewhere. But this suspect, a lot of them, you never know what he has in the back seat. We can see there's no one in the front, but you never know what's in the back, or whether, he may not want to be taken alive. You never know, because he's already wanted for RP, in Boston. So make sure you all watch the video to the end. I'm going to go ahead and get back to the sound for you so you can hear what's going on, but make sure you watch it to the end. Okay. It's going to be a surprising maneuver at the end. Okay.
Visibility pretty soon here if he continues northbound. That's what I'm trying to say. He doesn't realize it, but he's actually doing the right thing. If he's trying to lose the helicopters, it'll be up to those ground units to finish this pursuit if the Marine layer does indeed move in here, which it certainly is. You can see it in the picture here. If we widen out just a second, you'll be able to see a thick layer of clouds that are about to completely cover this part of West LA. So continuing up through Fox Hills, we're at the Fox Hills Mall, up Sepulveda at the Fox Hills Mall, continuing at a slow speed, relatively slow speed, I would say maybe 35, 40 miles per hour, a relatively empty stretch of road here. We may see another pit attempt, or they may just continue northbound here. It looks like they're continuing northbound. Again, he's doing a perfect speed here, right around 30 to 35 miles per hour. If they see the opportunity, I have to believe they're going to go ahead with it. He's going underneath the 90 freeway now. He's had several attempts in the last few minutes to get onto a freeway, and that might be the first red light he's run. I'm not sure. I think he had a red light there. Don't quote me, but I think that was a red light. Okay. This is definitely a red light. He's stopping with traffic here, and he's patiently waiting behind.
And look at these drivers,
talking to him, like,
I think they're videotaping them.
They hear the sirens, right? All of the drivers at this intersection hear the lights and sirens. They could see the commotion. They could see the commotion. They see the helicopter flying overhead. Something is up here, and now you take a very hands-off approach if you're that primary unit. You got to let them get through this intersection, get away from all of these innocent people before you do anything else. You don't want to agitate him at a stopped red light here. And he is stopped. He is waiting patiently behind this traffic, and they will continue the joyride with him here, northbound Sepulveda Boulevard. But you could just tell in the last 10 to 15 minutes, there's just a different energy down there. If he continues, they're going to have to employ more tactics, especially after giving those initial go-aheads for the pit maneuver and the spike strip. Now they're really committed. Now they've got to follow this all the way through until this comes to an end.
Chris, we're showing on the right side of your screen the failed pit maneuver attempts that happened just a few minutes ago. You can see, they got pretty close, but then it sort of backed away, and perhaps other factors came into play, other cars there. But there you see the attempt, and it was so close.
I do think that he touched.
It might have clipped him.
Maybe like you said, Chris, like a little kiss. But we are seeing that, and you are absolutely right that the energy of this pursuit has definitely been ratcheted up because of those pit maneuver attempts. And it looks like they're trying to do it again on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it looks like they want to give it another go here. He's speeding up. The minute he sees that primary unit come up behind him, he speeds up. He's once again stopped at a red light. What I was going to note there, I think at least 3 or 4 times in the last few minutes, he's had a perfect opportunity to get on the freeway, and he's bypassed all of those opportunities. Again, just trying to get into his head here, trying to figure out where he wants to take this. It certainly doesn't appear like he wants to get on the freeway. And again, every attempt at a pit maneuver, he just steps on the gas, floors it, and slows down again. So it's a game of cat and mouse. We use that term, that phrase all the time, but this is a quintessential scenario where it's really, it's a tough game. It's a game of whack-a-mole, because the minute you try and, speed up behind him, he speeds up, and, it's here he comes.
Oh, here he comes.
Here he comes, speeding up right behind him,
See,
and the pursuit vehicle speeds up again.
Oh,
Yep.
So curious, because if he really wanted to get away, you'd think he'd start speeding like we've seen in other pursuits. Yet he only speeds up when they attempt that pit maneuver.
yeah. When they try to
Very
apprehend him,
curious.
that's when he ups, gets that foot on the gas pedal and just floors it. But then eases up and goes back to a very calm pursuit, except for I don't know, Chris, if we could see how quickly. I know we're pretty far away, but this driver is definitely driving at a much faster rate and being a little bit more aggressive as they approach these intersections.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because he speeds up once he sees that primary unit come up right behind him. He's basically, he's basically going at their pace until they try to pit him, and then he speeds up. But then the minute he gets a little bit of distance, he slows down pretty much with speed limit, with traffic. And now once again, he stopped at Sepulveda and Washington Boulevard. Now we are getting more information trickling in here. He is apparently also wanted for robbery.
Oh.
So you could tell, as the information comes in here, you could tell this is not the best guy behind the wheel here, despite the tame nature of the driving.
Yeah.
We now have sexual assault, robbery, possibly armed, obviously unwilling to give up here. He's wanted out of another jurisdiction. They are probably communicating with that jurisdiction, wherever it is, perhaps Boston PD, and trying to get as much intel as they can. The only benefit there, well, there's a lot of benefits. One of the benefits is maybe they can get a relative on the line or somehow communicate with the suspect. Now, there's also a possibility, and we're hearing that this may be a likely possibility, something that we've been seeing more of in recent years. He may be listening to this pursuit on an app, or possibly live streaming the pursuit. So they do have information that he is on the phone or has access to this stream somehow, and is following along on either on his phone or perhaps on the radio. You just never know.
Right. If he's listening, you really should just give yourself up and end this, and stop putting other people in peril, and just go off the road and stop.
Yeah, just give it up. You're not
going to get anywhere.
I mean, 99.9% of the time, these people are apprehended, but looks like they're on the freeway, but it doesn't show at 405 North.
405 North.
I thought at a moment it said Venice Boulevard, but yeah, it's so they're on the 405 North. You can see that marine layer moving in again. Our visibility is becoming reduced, and this, I'm not sure if they ever try pit maneuvers on the freeway. I certainly, unless it's like this kind of, they're not going to try it when there's this many motorists on the road.
Yeah, no, that pit maneuver tactic is now off the table. That's been sidelined. And you mentioned it as we were talking there. He did take the opportunity for the first time in a while. He is now back on the freeway, northbound side of the 405 freeway in the middle of rush hour, coming up on National Boulevard, speeding up a little bit, looking for any gap in traffic to put a little bit of distance between him and that primary unit, but they're following at a safe distance, not having a problem. You can see him slowing down with traffic. Let's see how much weaving we start to see here. That's something we always look for once they find themselves in a little bit of a bind, but he is on the 405, not nearly as empty as it was earlier on in this pursuit when he was on the freeway. And again, that poses, on one hand, it poses more danger, but on the other hand, it is the safest of all other options, as opposed to a surface street where you have pedestrians and, so many other variables. The freeway, for all intents and purposes, is the ideal place. You just wish there was less traffic in case he gives up, in case they have to use force. You don't want any crossfire situations. You don't want him crashing into anybody if he gets spooked, stuff like that. But right now, as we speculate about all of those possibilities, for the most part, he is continuing to drive relatively safely, dare I say. I mean, he's really not posing an immediate risk, which means they have the luxury of following this all the way through. And probably, in all likelihood, if they don't hand this off to California Highway Patrol, they will start to get to the point where they start talking internally about transitioning or transferring this pursuit over to a new group of LAPD officers. As far as we could tell, this is still all LAPD behind this vehicle. We have not seen them swap out any of the units yet, but I would imagine, just judging on the length of this pursuit, it's almost time to hand this off to a new set of eyes and a new set of officers.
All right, Chris Christie, and we are handing it off to a new set of anchors right now. Michelle Fisher alongside me. I'm Giovanna Latta, and we are continuing to follow this breaking news in the Los Angeles area near LAX. This pursuit, LAPD pursuit. The suspect in this vehicle wanted for a sexual assault. And Chris, can you fill us in on what else we know about this?
Yeah, so information's been trickling in, Giovanna, on the details behind this chase. The suspect apparently wanted for an out-of-state warrant. Charges include sexual assault, robbery, and is potentially armed and dangerous. So despite the tame nature of this pursuit, they are working with a very volatile individual behind the wheel who is taking LAPD on an extensive joyride throughout the city. This all started in the Carson area, or the Wilmington area, eventually made his way through Carson, was on the freeway, on and off surface streets, ended up on the 405 freeway, where he eventually took the 405 up through Inglewood and has now been traversing the streets of basically the Inglewood area around LAX and Westchester for the last almost hour or so, until a short time ago when he finally got back on the freeway, taking Sepulveda Boulevard, and then eventually the 405 freeway into West LA here. And we are now firmly in West LA, in the Culver City, Cheviot Hills area, coming up on the 10 freeway. Actually, did we already pass the 10? I think he just passed the 10 freeway on the northbound side of the 405, Giovanna.
Okay, and as you mentioned, we've been following this now since about 4 o'clock. And what's different about this pursuit is that this driver has been really driving relatively slowly and carefully. We've seen other pursuits where suspects are speeding in and out of lanes and against traffic. He's only done this once or twice when he's trying to avoid those spike strips, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, even when they're right behind him, we haven't seen a lot of lane changing. Now you see him starting to weave a little bit more, and, you know, he was hugging the left lane for a short time, but now as he ventures over to the right, all of those motorists hear the lights and sirens behind him, and he is just looking for gaps in traffic to get around. So instead of committing to one lane, everybody's trying to move over to make way for the pursuit coming up behind him. Thankfully, considering the time of day here, thankfully, he is driving nice and slowly at a very safe speed. If that was not the case, this could get very, very dangerous. Thankfully, it is not the case, and he is traveling at a safe speed here. We'll see if they try and get another look. Look at that officer coming up behind him here. Still keeping his distance here. They're not going to get too close with all of these innocent motorists in the immediate vicinity, but certainly they have already attempted several pit maneuvers over the course of this pursuit. But now that we're on the freeway, that's pretty much off the table for the time being. But they may pull up next to him to get a better look inside the vehicle, or even try and communicate with the suspect. But again, with all of this traffic, it's really just a matter of time, right? You're just kind of waiting for those opportunities and trying to keep your distance, follow at a safe speed until he eventually gives up or this ends some other way. But right now, it is we're in stasis here. I mean, he's really just maintaining control of the vehicle and taking police along for a joyride here without acting very erratically, despite the somewhat violent nature of the charges.
Chris, you mentioned the traffic. When this first started around 4 o'clock, it was kind of an unusual sight because there wasn't much traffic on the freeway, which kind of would have given officers maybe some different options at that point. Now that traffic has picked up as rush hour really gets underway right now at 5 o'clock, what options do these officers have as they're trying to bring this to a close and you've got so many other people on the road trying to make their way home from work?
Yeah, the option, unfortunately, is to keep your distance and wait it out. Let him get through the traffic. maybe get off the freeway. But at these speeds and with this much traffic, you don't want to do anything to agitate him in this situation. There's just too many lives on the stage here, and they're going to try and keep him as calm and relaxed as possible. These are all the same Harbor Division units that initiated this pursuit over an hour ago in South LA, or in the Harbor Division in Wilmington, I should say. And they are the same officers who are continuing this pursuit as we make our way through West LA. Now, we are getting, again, a few more details here. Apparently, this is a serial rapist that has been wanted out of the East Coast that they are following here. So as we learn more about this suspect, it is very obvious now why they are not letting up any pressure on him. They are treating him with kid glove care, especially considering the possibility that he's armed. And now, based on these charges and the warrants that are being revealed here, they are dealing with a wanted man behind the wheel here that they are not going to give up on. This is not a pursuit that they will just give up. But we see that frequently now, in recent times, where they just basically decide, you know what, it's not worth it. The resources, for whatever reason, they just decide to let it go. This is not that situation. They are going to continue to apply pressure where it's safe, and where it's not safe, they will keep their distance and just follow slowly behind, hopefully at a nice casual pace here, doing below freeway speeds in the middle of rush hour, northbound side of the 405 freeway approaching Santa Monica.
Yeah, Chris, and just to clarify, these Harbor Division Patrol officers were trying to enforce that out-of-state warrant. Now, as you're saying, there are several warrants, and he was a serial rapist, is what we're being told. And so they were trying to enforce that out-of-state warrant, and that is when the pursuit started. And I was also going to point out what you just said, that this pursuit is different because some of the pursuits we've seen recently, authorities have really backed off. We haven't seen these many patrol vehicles tailing the suspect vehicle. But in this case, we've seen 5 patrol cars. And as you mentioned, they are staying very close to this vehicle.
Yeah, they've got 6 or 7 that have been following him all the way through here. And I think he's coming up on the Century City area here as he makes his way. He looks like he is on the phone. He has his right hand up to his right ear. There's the spike strip attempt. He went right around the spike, and instead of turning onto Santa Monica, he just continued up Cotner Avenue here, now paralleling the 405 freeway. So he's going to have another opportunity to get back on the freeway, but in that they had a great opportunity. They tried to spike him there. It didn't work, and now, unfortunately, he's back on the freeway. If he stayed on that service road, they probably, in all likelihood, it's literally a service road that parallels the 405.
Yes.
Would have been a great opportunity to pit the vehicle, but he took that 405 entrance, and once again, we are back in this heavy 405 rush hour traffic approaching Wilshire Boulevard in Westwood as he makes his way northbound towards the Sepulveda Pass. We may very well find ourselves, who knows, up in the hills here and eventually into the San Fernando Valley if he stays on the 405.
Yeah.
Traffic remains slow all the way through.
Yeah, that's possible. Although it does seem like now he is getting off the freeway. What is
Getting
that?
off at Wilshire.
Getting off at Wilshire. Okay. And what was interesting is he spent so much time around the LAX, Westchester, Inglewood area, about 45 minutes. And now he's venturing north on the 405 and now exiting on Wilshire.
Yeah, the one thing I think we could safely say is he does not know where he wants to end up here. He has been very indecisive. He has shown no clear signs of aiming in any particular direction or any specific destination. He has been making mostly random moves, random turns on surface streets, and even on the freeway, he's gotten off, gotten back on, gone the opposite direction. He just...
Guys, do one thing for me while we're still watching the pursuit of the wanted suspect in the case of RP or SA suspect. Do one thing for me. Go ahead and hit that like button just in case if you have not hit that like button at the very beginning of the video or the video. Make sure you go ahead and hit the like button now. That's to help keep me in the algorithm with YouTube. And then if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost a thing. Oh, I see the police is getting a lot closer to him. I hope this is coming to an end. I pray that it comes to an end very safely. But go ahead and hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel. So each time I drop new videos that you get your notification. All right. So go ahead and do that for me. And if you can, I'll go ahead and thank you for doing that. And let's get back to the chase.
As well. So they are strategizing. They're trying to think ahead, even though he has not really established a real clear pattern here. He's making it all up as he goes along, but he's traveling slow enough. That slow speed is giving the watch commander, who is also monitoring this pursuit very closely, more options to think about and deliberate on as this pursuit drags
one thing I
on.
noticed, he should be thankful during this rush hour time that the streets are pretty much clear for him. He runs into a little backup from time to time, but pretty much the streets are clear. I'm not sure whether the officers are ahead of him or making the streets clear or what, but yeah, the streets are pretty much clear. I don't see much of a backup for him. At times he runs into a backup, but he seems to get out of it. Okay.
Westbound
Towards UCLA.
on Shelby, approaching Malcolm Avenue here, and if they see an opportunity, I think we might see another pit attempt. We'll see.
Yeah, but yielding to traffic, we saw that white car kind of turn around the corner there, and the driver there was at least cautious enough and considerate enough not to be blowing through stop signs and kind of creating more havoc on the roads this afternoon. Also, we have no way of knowing this, but at this point, driving around for an hour plus, how much gas is left, we certainly don't know. But as it appears, based off what we've seen for the past hour, this person just kind of aimlessly driving around and making turn-by-turn decisions as they try to figure out what's next. Maybe we will see at some point they run out of fuel that is helping to keep them going on this pursuit, but we have no way of knowing that. Also, too, Chris, wanted to ask, we have no way of knowing, right, if possibly they're on the phone with law enforcement?
Oh,
Another spike attempt here. Here comes an LAPD officer running up to the vehicle, trying to spike the vehicle, and that might have been successful. That might have hit that front left tire, guys. That could very well be the beginning of the end. That looked like a really solid hit here.
You can see the people all standing around because they see this thing is coming through. Everybody is aware of this chase, and let's hope that spike got him at this time. I'm hoping that spike was successful on that right tire. That left drop, the driver's side. Let's hope.
Composed over the course of this pursuit. I can't think of a worse spot to amp things up here. And unfortunately, we are seeing him start to speed up a little bit here. He's coming to another red light, going through the red, and he's continuing northbound on Westwood Boulevard towards UCLA, and we're going to try and stay on the driver's side here to see if there's any change. It looks like that front left tire is starting to go flat. You guys, believe it or not, might actually have a better glimpse than I do. On my monitor, it does look like a slow bleed off on that front left tire.
I would agree with that. It looks flat from my perspective.
Yeah, it does look like maybe it took a hit.
Yeah, it looks like it's getting low, that front tire.
Things can escalate in because you are near UCLA. There's summer classes underway, lots of traffic in Westwood all the time, lots of pedestrian traffic. There are stores, grocery stores, just a lot of pedestrian activity. And I would hate for this to escalate into
people
a
standing
dangerous
to the
situation.
side.
He
They're
is
watching.
stopped right now. Is this a red
everybody's
light or
aware
a
of
stop?
this.
But he's very close this is LeConte right in front of UCLA. I would hate to have him head onto campus.
Well, certainly you've got a lot of people. It's one of the probably one of the most pedestrian-heavy areas in all of LA. Here in the heart of Westwood, where there are students and just everybody walking around. There's restaurants and everything you can imagine in this area near this intersection. Again, he's right by the movie theater and continuing northbound as that tire starts to run low. We can only hope and pray that the vehicle comes to a stop. Now, one flat tire is likely not going to be enough to really stop a vehicle of this size. This is a very
He's
capable,
going on-
almost looks
going onto
like a
campus.
brand new Lincoln Aviator that is capable of running on a flat tire
Yeah.
here. So he's
Now he's on campus.
he is on campus. He has just made a left turn into campus right by the hospital. He is right near
Jewel
Ronald
Stein.
Reagan.
That's
and
actually
he
the Jewel
is-
Stein Eye Center, I believe. Ronald Reagan is on the other side.
Oh, you're right.
I
You're
think
right.
this may be his downfall, getting
Also,
up in
the
that
scary part here too,
turn.
we've mentioned that this individual may be armed. So when you're considering that they're on campus now and that there's students there, pedestrians, people walking around, after the car comes to a stop, then you don't know what happens next.
Oh,
So that's
no.
kind of the extended fear, that
Look
could
at all
be
those cars.
at play here.
Right. But what is happening if you can? Is that the vehicle there? Is it still
Is he
Yeah,
getting out?
the vehicle is over here.
right here? Okay.
You saw an officer at the other end of this turnaround. It's a
They need to
turnabout that's
block
going to
him
put him back
in
onto
right
Westwood Boulevard here. So
So
he's in the
he
middle
can't
of the
get
medical
out. If he
plaza.
makes that
It's a
circle,
drive.
he
It's
will
basically
not
like
be
a
able to
like a
get out.
driveway.
They
He's
block
going to come
that.
out the other side, and you can see on the left side there's an
They
officer
block that.
waiting for him. So we will see if they make another attempt at possibly, if
But
they
then
set
they
it
have
up
to get the other
correctly,
people
maybe
out of their
trying for the
car
right
safely.
tire. They
They
know
can
that they have
handle.
one left tire flat.
So I don't think
He's
they're
running
gonna
on
do
a
that.
flat tire. Maybe they will give another attempt at the right
You got to
tire.
stop the
But
other
right
traffic
now,
from coming
he's
in.
stuck in hospital traffic
Yes, he
in
sure
the
is.
middle of this medical plaza in the heart of UCLA. Here come more officers running towards the exit of that turnaround. And there's the spike strip.
Right.
There's the spike strip.
And,
We'll see.
and then
They're
there's-
going to pull it back. They're going to
Yeah.
pull it back. He may or may not already see it, but they're going
I
to
don't
try
think
and
he's
sneak
gonna
up
get
on
out
him
of this guy.
and try this one more time. This would be, I think, the third spike attempt. We know we've got one successful, and if with any luck, maybe they can aim for that right side.
right. But such a recipe.
My opinion, I don't think he's going to get out of this. They got the spike strips down, plus there's a jam here. Oh, wait, now that's him in the back, in that center back. No. Oh, they're trying to get the other drivers out. Oh my gosh.
Look at him. He's trying to evade it. He's trying to evade it.
going
Maybe
around.
an attempt at the
Oh.
rear there. He was able to get around that.
Oh,
So
he should have
they
had it
threw the
already
spike strip
in and
down.
out.
It fell just short of the vehicle. And now, instead of coming out, I think he's going to end up going around again. We may make our way around this turnabout again. I think we're still on hospital property. He's
And-
going to stay on the property he has. He's gone all the way around. And he's circling the driveway here. This is bizarre, guys.
And there's
It's an
underground
unbelievable
parking, too.
situation. Yeah, there's
And-
underground parking too. You're right.
You just have to wonder at these moments what is going through this individual's head, and we have no way of
Run
knowing,
out of
obviously.
gas.
But to go back into that hospital roundabout seems maybe unlikely, like an unlikely plan. And then we have people outside that are obviously watching this pursuit,
Doctors or
videotaping.
something with the white.
Yeah, I mean
transporters.
now you have, again, we're in the heart of Westwood here, near UCLA, right at the hospital. There are tons of people who are well aware of this pursuit. The lights and sirens are blaring. They're getting citizen alerts. They're probably streaming it on ABC7 right now, and you can see this has turned into a real game of cat and mouse as they try and figure out how to bring this to a peaceful resolution without exposing anybody to danger. You think of all of the opportunities that we may have seen earlier where there was not as much collateral in the way. Now you see all kinds of risks if they decide to use force for any reason. If they're put in a position where he threatens these officers, they just have so few options at their disposal with so many innocent people walking around, driving around in a hospital setting like this. It is a nightmare scenario. So just when you thought this was a slow speed, boring pursuit, this has turned into a really nerve-wracking situation. And just like that, things have taken on an entirely different turn with now two separate spike attempts. At least one was successful. He's driving on a left flat tire. And now we're going to see another spike attempt as they cover the
That's what I
entire
was thinking. They should
lane.
have the spikes.
He's almost got nowhere to
down.
go. If he's going to get out of this predicament, he's going to end up probably driving over that spike strip.
I don't think he's
And-
going to get out.
And
of
in that case, if he does, I just want to say here, this time, if he is blocked in, look at him opening the door. Opening the door. Driver's side door has just popped open. And let's see, just widen out just a smidge here. We want to see those
Watch this to
officers.
the end.
They've got their
Arms
guns
are
out,
out.
trained on the suspect.
Watch it to the
Is
end.
he showing? Is he showing hands?
He was
You saw
showing hands, yes.
at least his left hand.
Yes.
He's showing hands. I think at least his left hand. He is attempting to exit the vehicle with his arms and hands now clearly visible. The suspect deciding time is up after an hour-plus pursuit. He has opened the door and is now exiting the vehicle, albeit very slowly, following the commands of those LAPD officers. Again, probably the best case scenario here, considering all of the other ways this could have been terminated. We now see him finally giving up peacefully, about to surrender to these LAPD officers. But man, what a dramatic end indeed, as he really has come to a stop in a precarious place with so many pedestrians around here. It does look like he's coming out empty-handed, even though they are operating under the assumption that he is armed and dangerous. Again, he is wanted for robbery. He is a serial rape suspect out of Boston, but we believe, and it does look like they're going to take this suspect into custody any minute here. He looks like he
Chris,
is
it looks like
moving,
he is injured.
moving a little slow here.
Wait
He's
now.
having a little trouble balancing or walking.
How is he
Don't know if
moving
he's,
slowly, but he can drive
you
that
know,
car with
Don't know if he's
Some
taking
physical
it-
challenges.
injured in any way, or if he's
is he
maybe a
taking
little, who knows, maybe inebriated in some
influence?
way. We don't know.
How can
These are all,
he-
even though this is
No, I
kind
don't
of
think
the end
he's
to the pursuit and we see
intoxicated
him
or
out of the
anything.
vehicle now,
I think
when we're
he's
watching
probably
these things,
faking it,
these
or
seem to always be the
he has a
most tense
disability.
moments where anything
he
could kind of
can't walk,
happen or go wrong. So it's great that he's
successfully
finally
without
come to a
help.
stop and is out of the vehicle and the officers seem to be in control. But these moments always give me kind of the most anxiety.
Because you're exactly right, Michelle. This is one of the most dangerous, aside from all of the other, inherent dangers of a pursuit. It's the end, the unpredictability of what his next move is going to be. Now, all indications are here. He does not appear to pose a threat, but looks could be deceiving, and they can't make any assumptions. And in an area
Right.
where there is so much other, activity here,
Take him at face
they
value
have
right now.
cleared the area. And they now basically, it appears to me, they've been able to get other people out of the way. There were a lot of pedestrians on that curb a short time ago, and now everybody has backed away. They're going to clear the vehicle, even though he's having trouble. This is very unusual. Never seen this, where they clear the vehicle, and he is still out of the vehicle,
Like he have some,
walking towards
trouble
those
standing.
officers, but he is not well, and they are going to approach him nice and gently here and place him under arrest, likely place him in an ambulance in short order. But it does look like he does not have all of his faculties, but thankfully he is now in police custody. Ding dong, this has come to a peaceful end.
Peaceful end.
Absolutely, Chris. We've been watching this again since 4 o'clock, and it was. You can say it was a slow speed pursuit, but it sure did ramp up at the end with these very tense moments. He is a suspected serial rapist. We don't have too much information, but authorities did believe he was armed. It's unclear why he seems to be so physically challenged and unable. He had such a hard time
But he could
exiting
be a
that vehicle. So
serial
there's so much
RP,
more
but he-
information we just don't have about this.
But now he can't walk.
But again, we can all breathe
Okay.
a sigh of relief that no one on the road was hurt. No innocent bystanders
Yes.
were affected or injured.
Yeah, I mean, what we do know is that he's certainly now has a trip to jail, and these charges that he's facing that he was initially kind of pulled over for, now he can face justice for that. I mean, I don't know if the assumption is that he came from the other side of the country to try to avoid whatever charges were following him, but officers now have him in custody, which is the beginning of some type of justice for these rape victims of his, serial rapists. Those are serious charges, certainly, and
Thank God
robbery.
he's off the
Also
street.
out of Boston, based off what we know so far about this individual here.
Right. And he certainly, without a doubt, was evading police, fleeing the
Yeah, he
patrol
looked like he was a
officers
skilled
that were
driver.
tailing him, because he saw those spike strips
Mhm.
and he was
Yeah.
avoiding them. He knew that they were after him. So there's more information about this that hopefully we'll be able to get.
Yeah,
later.
if you've done some of those things or suspected of doing those things, and you
God,
see
there's nobody inside
flashing
of
lights
that
behind you
car
for
that was
anything,
willing
running a
to
stop
do
sign or
some
anything,
real
you're certainly going to
work.
have I would assume
Yeah.
your heart dropped because you know that you have some other things
Or no
that
kidnapping
you're
or
responsible for
anything
that you
of a
don't want to have
child
to
or a
speak
person.
with authorities about. So we can only imagine that maybe that's what was going through his mind as he was originally pulled over for this, or attempted to be pulled over this afternoon around 4 o'clock.
All right. Yes, but no one hurt on the campus of UCLA and anywhere else. So
Okay. All right.
we can move on with other news.
All right, guys. Whew. That was something else. That was something else. Okay. Thank you for being here. Let me just put up, just in case, warning content, because we was dealing with a serial SA suspect. So I just wanted to make sure that's up just in case. All right, guys. Thank you. And I hope you hit that like button and subscribe so you can be here when I drop another new video. All right. And I will talk to you all again later. Y'all have a wonderful day. This is Pinkie with Pink Global. Bye-bye.